General Hospital spoilers reveal that Rick is undergoing a dangerous surgery at General Hospital, a desperate attempt to save his life after the tragic car accident caused accidentally by Christina. The top doctors at the hospital, including Lucas and Terry, have gathered in the operating room, where they are fighting not only to save Rick's life but also to minimize the potential brain damage from his serious head injury. In the waiting room, Alexis and Molly are holding each other's hands tightly, praying for the man who, despite a complicated history, remains an irreplaceable part of their lives. Christina, standing a little farther away, is tortured by guilt and fear over what she's caused, while Lucky stands nearby, his eyes full of worry as he looks toward the operating room door, where Elizabeth is also being treated. If the surgery is successful, the doctors will be able to stop the brain bleeding and stabilize Rick's condition, bringing initial relief to his worried family. Molly will cry in her mother's arms, relieved to know that her father will survive. Alexis, despite her complicated history with Rick, will also feel a wave of relief, not just for Rick but also for Molly, who she knows would be heartbroken if she lost her father. Even Christina will feel a glimmer of hope that perhaps the consequences of her thoughtless actions won't be as devastating as she feared. However, one of the new obsessions involves the changes Rick is going through after waking up from surgery. Initially, doctors will think this is just a temporary condition, a typical response to a severe head injury. But as days pass, and Rick still can't remember anything about his life before the accident, everyone will begin to realize that his condition might be far worse than they initially feared. The more concerning part is the significant changes in Rick's personality. The man who wakes up from surgery is no longer the Rick Lansing everyone knew, no longer the ambitious and sometimes manipulative lawyer, no longer the man with a complicated history full of schemes and intrigues. Instead, he becomes gentle, almost innocent, with a kindness and compassion that those who knew him before rarely saw. He remembers nothing of his complicated past with Sonny, nothing of his feud with Jason, and even nothing of the darkest moments in his history with Alexis. This has become one of the new shocks for Alexis and Molly, who are now confronted with an entirely new version of the man they thought they knew. Alexis, who has endured so much pain and betrayal from Rick in the past, now faces a man who looks at her with eyes of trust and admiration, though there's no recognition. She doesn't know how to respond when Rick, with complete sincerity, asks her if they ever loved each other, and why they aren't together anymore. Molly, meanwhile, is both relieved that her father is alive but heartbroken that the man who wakes up no longer remembers the memories they shared. She faces the painful task of telling her father about his life, carefully choosing what to share and what to keep hidden. Should she tell him about his dark actions in the past? Or should she give him a chance to start over with a clean slate? As Rick continues to recover and attempts to rebuild his life from the fragments, Alexis and Molly will be forced to face difficult questions about the nature of memory, identity, and the capacity for change. Is this new Rick truly a different person, or will his old instincts and tendencies eventually rise to the surface? And if his memories begin to return, will he revert to the old Rick, or will this new, better version remain? As Port Charles tries to adjust to this new version of Rick, one thing is certain. Alexis and Molly's lives will never be the same again, and the journey ahead will be filled with challenges, surprises, and perhaps, hope, offering a chance for healing that neither of them thought possible. Rick is facing the complications of his situation, a complex scenario that is gradually unfolding as he continues to recover from the tragic car accident. Although the brain injury has caused him to lose much of his memory, pieces of the past are beginning to come back, not as complete memories, but as flashes of images, vague feelings, and disturbing dreams. Rick wakes up at night, sweating and panicked, with a sense that something isn't right about the accident, that there's more to the story than what everyone is telling him. When the doctors explain that this is a normal reaction to trauma, Rick can't help but feel that his mind is trying to tell him something important, a secret he can't even remember. One of the new shifts in the story comes with Molly's growing obsession. Molly, always analytical and seeking the truth, has begun noticing inconsistencies in the story about the accident. Why was her father driving so late at night? Why was Elizabeth with him? And why is Lucky being so protective of Christina after the accident? These questions have become an obsession for Molly, prompting her to launch her own investigation, gathering information and evidence without anyone knowing, even her mother. Molly has begun to follow Christina, documenting her every move and conversation. She hacked into Christina's phone to view messages and call history. She even started speaking to staff at Charlie's pub to verify Christina's story about where she was the night of the accident. This obsession has started to affect Molly's relationships, especially with TJ, who doesn't understand why she has suddenly become so distant and secretive. But evidence regarding the accident remains elusive, and this is where Rick's memory begins to protect Christina's actions. In a strange twist of fate, Rick's amnesia is shielding Christina. As Rick starts to recall fragments of the night of the accident, he remembers the image of a woman, not Christina, but another woman he doesn't recognize, doing something with his car. Although this memory is unclear, it makes Rick believe someone else is responsible for the accident, and he begins sharing this information with the police. Lucky, knowing that Christina was the one who sabotaged the car, finds himself in a moral dilemma. On one hand, he has a duty as a police officer to pursue the truth. On the other, he promised Christina that he would protect her, and he knows that if the truth comes out, she could face serious criminal charges. His decision becomes even more complicated due to his relationship with Elizabeth, who was injured in the accident and would feel betrayed if she learned Lucky was hiding the truth. As Molly continues her investigation and Rick's memory continues to return, a race is unfolding. Will the truth be revealed before Christina can escape the consequences of her actions? And if the truth is exposed, will Molly be able to forgive her sister for nearly killing her father? Will Rick, with his new personality and free of the burden of his complicated past, find it in himself to forgive Christina? Or will Rick's true nature, full of revenge and manipulation, eventually surface? As the situation continues to develop, one thing is certain: the secret of the accident is becoming a ticking time bomb, and when it explodes, it will forever change the dynamics between the Lansing, Davis, and Corinthos families. And at the center of it all is Rick, a man trying to rebuild his life from the wreckage, unaware that the very memories he is trying to reclaim could destroy the lives of those he cares about the most. Molly is still doing everything she can to protect her father's rights, a task she's pursuing with the determination and dedication she is known for. As Rick continues to recover at General Hospital, Molly has become his tireless protector, ensuring that he receives the best medical care possible and safeguarding his legal rights while he is unable to represent himself. She has hired an independent lawyer to represent Rick's interests, not trusting that anyone in the family, even her mother, Alexis, will put Rick's needs first. Molly has also started gathering evidence about the accident, believing that something is wrong with the official story and determined to uncover the truth, no matter the consequences. One of the new shocks involves the control Alexis and Christina have, which is truly making things spiral out of control. Alexis and Christina have secretly collaborated to stop Molly's investigation, fearing that if she discovers the truth about Christina's role in the accident, it will not only destroy their relationship as sisters but could also lead to serious legal consequences for Christina. Alexis, as a lawyer, understands the gravity of the situation. Christina could face severe criminal charges for sabotage and causing serious injury. Therefore, she has started using her legal connections to block the investigation, while Christina has begun manipulating Molly by pretending to support her sister's efforts while actually sabotaging them from the inside. This manipulation has included Alexis using her position to access and alter the autopsy report on the accident, erasing evidence that could lead to Christina. She has also pressured Lucky to stay silent about what he knows, using their long-standing relationship and implying that if he speaks out, it could affect his career. Christina, meanwhile, has begun sowing doubts about Molly's mental stability, suggesting to others that her sister is becoming obsessed and may need psychological help. A new event is unfolding as Rick begins recalling fragments of the truth. In a breakthrough moment, when Molly is sitting by his bedside, Rick suddenly grabs her hand and says, "The car. Someone did something to the car. A woman, dark hair." Though this memory is still vague, it provides Molly with her first real clue. A woman with dark hair did something to Rick's car before the accident. And although Rick doesn't recognize who the woman is, Molly can't help but notice that this description matches Christina. As Molly begins connecting the dots, she turns to TJ for help, sharing her suspicion that Christina may be involved in the accident. TJ, although initially skeptical, agrees to help Molly investigate, using his position at Charlie's pub to verify Christina's story about where she was on the night of the accident. What he discovers confirms Molly's worst fear, Christina lied about where she was the night of the fateful event. This proves to be one of the new, shocking events as Molly confronts Christina about her findings. The confrontation, which takes place at Alexis' apartment while she's away, quickly escalates into a heated argument. Christina, feeling cornered, finally admits her actions but tries to justify herself, claiming she never intended to harm Rick or Elizabeth. She only wanted to get revenge on Ava and had confused the car. Molly, shocked and outraged, declares that she will go to the police with this information, not caring that Christina is her sister. Christina, in a desperate moment, grabs a heavy vase and strikes Molly in the head, knocking her unconscious. Panicked and unsure of what to do, Christina calls the only person she thinks can help her, Alexis. This leads to a new disaster as Alexis returns home and finds Molly unconscious on the floor and Christina in a panic. When Alexis understands the situation, she faces an unimaginable decision. Should she call for an ambulance for Molly and face the consequences of Christina's actions, or should she try to handle the situation on her own to protect her eldest daughter? In a defining moral moment, Alexis chooses to call for an ambulance, realizing that Molly's health must be the priority. However, while waiting for the ambulance, she tells Christina that they will say Molly slipped and hit her head on the table, a further lie in the growing web of lies they are building. When Molly is brought to the same hospital where Rick is being treated, a tense situation is unfolding. Rick, with his memory gradually returning, may soon realize that Christina is the one who sabotaged his car. Molly, upon waking, will know the truth about her sister's actions. And Alexis, caught between her two daughters and her ex-husband, will have to face the consequences of hiding the truth. As the situation continues to develop, one thing is certain. The Lansing Davis family is on the brink of a crisis that could destroy them forever. And when the truth is finally revealed, none of them will be the same. Rick is truly heartbroken after Liz's death, a tragedy that no one could have predicted when she had successfully survived the initial surgery but then developed a severe blood clot leading to a sudden stroke and death. Liz's death has shocked the entire Port Charles community, but no one is more affected than Rick, who woke up from his coma only to learn that the woman who had been with him in the car that fateful night was no longer with them. Although Rick's memory of his relationship with Liz remains hazy due to his brain injury, the pain of losing her seems to transcend the boundaries of memory, reaching a deep place in his soul untouched by his amnesia. This is leading to one of the new complications as Rick's grief turns into anger and a determination to uncover the truth about the accident. Despite doctors advising him to focus on his recovery, Rick has started conducting his own investigation from his hospital bed, using legal skills that seem to be intact despite his loss of personal memories. He has begun requesting to see police reports, medical records, and any documents related to the accident, searching for inconsistencies or clues that might explain why his car went off the road. This is proving to be one of the new shocks as Rick starts to recall fragments of that fateful night, not complete memories, but flashes of images, Liz smiling at him in the car, a conversation about Cameron and Jake, and then the sudden feeling of losing control as the car began to skid. But there's another memory, one he can't fully grasp, the image of a woman with dark hair doing something with his car before he and Liz got in. This memory, though unclear, has caused Rick to suspect that the accident wasn't a mere accident, but might have been the result of intentional action. This is proving to be the start of a new investigation as Rick, from his hospital bed, begins pulling the strings of a conspiracy that may have led to Liz's death. He secretly hires a private investigator to follow the leads he can't pursue himself and has begun making a list of people who might want to harm him or Liz. This list is startlingly long, reflecting Rick's complicated past in Port Charles and the number of enemies he's made over the years. But one name stands out above all, Sonny Corinthos, his half-brother and longtime enemy. Rick's hatred for Sonny is still burning fiercely, an emotion so strong that it seems to transcend even his amnesia. Though Rick can't remember exactly why he hates Sonny, the animosity and bitterness remain, as if etched into his very being. When Molly tries to explain the complicated history between Rick and Sonny, Rick reacts with such intense anger that Molly is forced to step back. He's involved in this accident, Rick declares, despite there being no evidence to support this claim. He's always wanted me dead. And now, because of him, Liz is dead. This is proving to be one of the new developments in the story as Rick begins to build a narrative in his mind, a story in which Sonny ordered the sabotage of his car, with the intent to kill him, and Liz was just collateral damage. Though there's no evidence supporting this theory, it has become the truth in Rick's mind, a truth he feels in every fiber of his being. And as he continues to recover physically, his obsession with holding Sonny accountable intensifies. This is proving to be the start of a new attack as Rick begins planning his revenge. From his hospital bed, he starts moving the pieces on the chessboard, using the connections and resources he still remembers to build a plan to destroy Sonny. He has contacted Sonny's old rivals, proposing an alliance against their common enemy. He started gathering information on Sonny's business activities, searching for vulnerabilities to exploit. And most importantly, he started looking for ways to approach Christina, Sonny's daughter, and the one Rick believes may hold the key to taking down his brother. What Rick doesn't know is that Christina is the one who sabotaged his car, although with the intent to target Ava, not him. And as Christina, struggling with the guilt over Liz's death, begins visiting Rick in the hospital, a dangerous situation is unfolding. Each time she visits, Christina gets closer to confessing her guilt, while Rick continues to solidify his belief that Sonny must be responsible. And in the middle of it all is Molly, who knows the truth but is currently recovering from her own head injury, unable to warn her father about the dangerous path he's walking. As Rick continues to plot his revenge, and as Christina continues to struggle with her guilt, an inevitable confrontation is drawing closer. A confrontation that could forever change not just the Lansing and Corinthos families, but all of Port Charles. And when the truth is finally exposed, no one can predict who will remain standing and who will fall.